Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're listening to the Thai Expat Daily Show, and I'm your host, Kieran Mack. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video and also subscribe on your podcasts. And let's just jump into today's top stories. Vaccination registration through app suspended. The government plans to suspend registration for COVID-19 vaccinations through its MoreProm online platform to forestall a bottleneck, according to the CCSA. The CCSA spokesman said on Wednesday that the MoreProm platform previously covered registration for vaccinations, follow-ups on the first and second jabs, side effects and vaccine certification. Amid increasing confusion, he said registrations was now excluded from the MoreProm app. That platform will now handle vaccination follow-ups and certification only. Earlier, the government announced that the general public will be allowed to register through MoreProm, but in a sudden about-turn, Dr. Tawisip said provincial authorities should have their own vaccination registration systems like those of Bangkok, Phuket and Nonthaburi to serve the large numbers of registrants in their areas. The spokesman assured that the elderly and patients with one or more of 7 chronic conditions who had already managed to register for vaccination with MoreProm would not have to reapply and would be inoculated in due time. Their vaccination would happen soon, he said. Apart from using provincial registration systems, people were able to apply for vaccinations at local hospitals and with local health volunteers, he said. That data would be then forwarded to the centralised MoreProm platform. The spokesman also said COVID-19 vaccinations will be distributed according to the needs of different areas and groups of people. Areas with serious outbreaks and groups of at-risk workers would receive more doses. As of Tuesday, 3.15 million people in the country had been inoculated against COVID-19, 2.16 with their first jab and just under 1 million with both. Government spokesman Anuka Burachasiri said 57% of doses so far had gone to medical personnel and workers in contact with COVID-19 cases, 34% to people in outbreak areas and 8% to elderly people and those with specific chronic diseases. The first inoculations were given on February 28th. So yet again, more confusion from the Thai government, yet again, more incompetence. And one might wonder why you would make an application that was designed to be the registration process for everyone and then just to throw it away at the end. This makes no sense. It just shows the complete incompetency of what's going on here. Nobody seems to have a clue what they're doing. Every day is a different system to do something. Now it's let the provincial governments come up with their own systems. I mean, it's all just nonsense at this point, and it's making no sense whatsoever. I mean, I couldn't find another country that has such a bad rollout as this. And let's be honest, according to the government, June 7th is when it's all meant to kick off. So now everybody has 10 days to register for vaccinations again. I don't know. I just can't get my head around it at the moment. We complain about foreigners not being able to get vaccinated, but God, the poor Thai people too. How can you keep track of what's going on every week? New systems, new procedures, new ways to do things. I mean, can you make one and stick to it? No wonder people aren't signing up for anything. They have no idea what's going on. Anyway, this is all a mess in my opinion. I'd love to hear what you think. Do you think the Thai vaccination rollout is being handled well, or do you think, as I do, it's all a complete and utter mess and just shows complete incompetence? Love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thong Lor clubs deny COVID wraps. The managers of Crystal Club and Emerald Club in Bangkok Thong Lor area, where the third wave of COVID-19 allegedly began, have denied operating an entertainment venue without permission and violating the emergency decree, a police source said on Tuesday. Deki Pilalai, 51, an executive of Crystal, and Kittipong Kamtai, 51, an executive of Emerald Group, met investigators at Thong Lor police station yesterday under a second summons to both to deny any wrongdoing. The two also opted to submit a written statement on June 4th, said the source. The police have formally laid out charges without detaining them, and the source added that police will seek to wrap up the investigation as soon as possible. Now, this is another little bit of an odd story because I think a couple of months ago I read that the two managers of both clubs were jailed for 2 months. So it seems like either that story was incorrect or they're filing further charges with the entertainment venues. I don't know how such big clubs could be running without entertainment licenses, and considering the type of clientele they get, I'd be very surprised if these charges last or stick for very long, if you know what I mean. I think this story will slowly disappear and there probably won't be much left to talk about soon, and I would suspect police charges will also disappear along the way. Thai Airways test demand in Europe. Thai Airways have started selling direct flights from 4 cities in Europe to Phuket as the province counts down for its planned reopening on July 1st, with hundreds of tour agents invited to take experimental trips during the third quarter to test the scheme. However, with the Cabinet extending the nationwide state of emergency until July 31st, all services on the island have to be conducted as semi-commercial flights, requiring passengers to obtain a certificate of entry prior to arrival as part of COVID-19 containment measures. The Deputy Governor for Europe, Africa, the Middle East and the Americas at Tourism Authority of Thailand said tourism demand in the initial stage of the Phuket sandbox is expected to be soft because of tight travel restrictions in both Thailand and some tourist countries. For instance, a travel advisory in the UK raised Thailand on the amber list, mandating travellers returning from Thailand to quarantine at home for 10 days. Even though vaccinated tourists are exempt from quarantine in Phuket, they may be reluctant to travel if it means isolation for many days. Most of them will likely resume travel once the situation in Thailand improves. TAT is working with Thai Airways in preparation for the July opening, with the flag carrier launching ticket sales to test the market, with one returning flight for each route per week. Thai Airways offers direct flights from Paris, Frankfurt, London, Copenhagen to Phuket via a triangular pattern. Inbound flights from Europe will fly direct to Phuket Airport before stopping over at Bangkok Airport for departure. The flag carrier also plans 2 routes from Asian City, Seoul and Taipei to Phuket from July, while the schedule from Tokyo still requires confirmation. Mr. Sirikorn said that the agency plans to work with Thai Airways and other international airlines to bring hundreds of overseas tour agents to Phuket, but as a small group at different times. In addition to feedback on the entry process and travel experience during the pandemic, Phuket wants to hear from these guests about new tourism procedures that include local stakeholders such as farmers and local communities. Our travel surveys in several countries found tourists still want to come to Thailand, but seek unique quality experiences, he said. Phuket must strictly follow the plan to improve its standards this year. From the Phuket sandbox, TAT plans to scale down its marketing to a city level instead of designated areas around the country, as parts of Thailand still report high daily infections. The agency admitted the destination has a geographic advantage. Islands such as Phuket and Samui have limited entry points, allowing them to better control the flow of tourists and administer health screening measures more efficiently, said Mr. Siripakorn. So there you go. I think we can look through and we kind of still see certificate of entry will be still required. So, I mean, with the extension of the emergency decree, all these similar entry requirements look like they're not going away anytime soon. So one would wonder what exactly the Thai government are planning for this Phuket reopening. As I've said many times before, tourists do not want to be applying for certificates of entry, using all kinds of paperwork and having to go through these procedures. They want a hassle-free way to travel to Thailand, and this, from my viewing of it and what's been said in this article, is definitely not it. Just to quickly reiterate on the Phuket sandbox model, from my reading they say that the SOPs for entry will be released or at least presented to the Thai government on June 4th. That doesn't mean they'll be approved on June 4th. So this seems like it's a very laid-back approach because, I mean, June 4th is 3 weeks away from when they're meant to be opening. So we will bring you the entry requirements and all the details as they come in. And then once they do, we'll make a complete new video about all of this, or a new podcast, and hopefully it'll help people overseas who want to come to Thailand in the near future. Police in Koh Samui arrest 9 people for gathering and drinking alcohol. Police in Koh Samui arrested 9 people for allegedly gathering and drinking alcohol, a violation of the strict disease control rules put in place to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The island has been working to contain the virus and administer vaccines quickly to prepare for the reopening to vaccinated tourists on July 1 under a travel model similar to Phuket. Boput police raided the 100 bar and arrested the owner, 46-year-old Nataman, on charges of breaking emergency orders by serving alcohol. 3 British men at the bar were arrested and taken to the police station. Police also raided the Sari Beauty and Salon, where there was a small group gathering. 3 Thais and 3 British nationals were arrested. So again, if they're planning to reopen in the next month, all these kind of rules will have to be abolished, and otherwise nobody's coming. So, I mean, we're a month away from it now, and they still have these rules of foreigners being arrested for having a drink. I know it's against the rules and the law, but you know, at some point they're going to have to relax them, and this is not the image that you need to be portraying to potential international tourists. Thanks for tuning in today. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating. We are available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.